There's this concept you see over and over in history. It happens right before some kind of major, unavoidable shift hits a society.
Like a crossroads moment.
Exactly. It's this split second where a choice is still, technically on the table.
Hmm.
You can look at the data, update your assumptions, and move deliberately to get ahead of it.
Or you can just pretend tomorrow's going to look exactly like yesterday.
And just wait for the crash.
Right. And the cost of reacting is always so much higher than the cost of preparing.
That is the tension we are digging into today. We're doing a deep dive on a source from Jamaica Homes, published January 30, 2026. It's titled Cybercrime, Property, and the Future Jamaica Cannot Ignore.
And when you first see that headline, you might think, okay, this is about hacking. Firewalls, passwords, that kind of thing.
Right, someone stealing your credit card number online. After reading it, that's not really the core of it, is it?
Not at all. The technology, that's just the vehicle. This deep dive is really about trust. Trust in our systems, trust in the housing market, and, fundamentally trust in each other. The article argues that the digital world is quietly rewriting the rules of real estate. And when you think about what property means in the Caribbean land, inheritance, identity, the stakes are just incredibly high.
It's about more than just money. It's about stability, about legacy. That's what pulled me in. So let's get into the mechanics here, because the source frames the problem in a really interesting way. It says cybercrime has moved from being a nuisance to becoming infrastructure.
That's a very specific and deliberate choice of words.
What does that distinction actually mean?
It's a huge shift in the business model of crime. 10, 15 years ago, cybercrime was often an isolated thing, a virus, a spam email, annoying, a nuisance.
Right.
But infrastructure means it's now the foundation that other crimes are built on. It's the plumbing for fraud, for identity theft, for organized crime. It's become a service industry.
So crime as a service.
Exactly. The article uses this great phrase for it, old crimes wearing new clothes.
I like that. Old crimes wearing new clothes. So the crime itself, theft, is the same, but the method is totally new.
Precisely. And those new clothes are stitched together with artificial intelligence, with automation, with global platforms. The actual crime stealing a property title, faking an identity, that's ancient. But the speed and the scale you can do it at now, that's completely unprecedented.
And the article really makes a point that this isn't just a Caribbean problem. It points to what's happening in Europe and the UK right now as a kind of warning.
It's a ghost of Christmas future kind of thing. In Europe, they're seeing these incredibly sophisticated scams. We're not just talking about phishing emails anymore. We're talking about fraudsters renting a house short-term on a totally legitimate site like Airbnb.
Wait, so they rent the place for a weekend, then what?
Well, they get physical access,
Yeah.
the keys.
Yeah.
Then they essentially set up shop. They act like they own it. They'll stage viewings for other people, for long-term tenants, or even buyers.
So a potential buyer shows up, and there's a guy in the living room with the keys looking confident. Of course they'd trust him.
Why wouldn't they? He issues contracts, collects deposits from maybe 5, 10, even 20 different people.
And then just vanishes.
And the money vanishes with him. But it gets even more complex. The article talks about entire sales being orchestrated with something called synthetic identities.
Oh, okay, I was going to ask about that. I get identity theft, someone steals my name. But synthetic, that sounds like science fiction.
It's pretty scary. A synthetic identity isn't just a stolen ID. It's like a Frankenstein's monster of data. A fraudster takes a real Social Security number or tax ID maybe from a child or someone who's passed away.
Someone who isn't checking their credit report.
Right. And they combine that with a fake name, a fake address, and then they build a fake credit history over months. They nurture this fake person.
Nurture them.
Yeah. They apply for small loans and pay them back. They create a digital footprint. So when a bank or a lawyer runs a background check, the algorithms all say, yep, this person exists, they have a history, but the person is completely fabricated.
And the really chilling part is that this is happening in places like the UK with very advanced, secure land registries.
That's the crucial point. If systems in London with billions in security infrastructure can be fooled by this, a smaller market like the Caribbean can't just assume it's immune. The article says they're not safer, they're just earlier in the timeline.
Earlier in the timeline. That's a haunting thought. So let's pivot to the why. Why real estate? I mean, a house is a big physical thing.
Well,
why is it such a perfect target for this kind of digital fraud?
it's really the intersection of high value and high friction. Think about buying a home. It's usually the most money a person will ever spend in their life.
And it's incredibly emotional.
High emotion, tight timelines, buyers are terrified of losing the deal, sellers are anxious to close. It's stressful.
You're just checking your phone every 5 minutes, waiting for the lawyer, waiting for the bank. You just want it over with.
And that stress is the vulnerability. When we're under pressure, we look for shortcuts. We communicate almost entirely through email and messaging apps. Did you get my text? Just send over the PDF. Those shortcuts create the cracks where the fraud gets in.
The article actually lists 4 specific types. I think we should break them down. The first one is title fraud.
Right. This usually targets properties that are unmortgaged or vacant.
Yeah.
If there's no bank holding the mortgage, there's no one watching the title as closely.
So it's unwatched.
In a sense, yeah.
Wow.
A fraudster impersonates the owner, forges documents to transfer the title to themselves, and then immediately takes out a huge loan against the property. The real owner has no idea until the bank comes knocking for the payments.
It's terrifying. Okay, next is seller impersonation. How's that different?
It's similar, but often targets the sale itself. This is a huge risk for the diaspora, people living abroad who own property back home in Jamaica. Imagine you have a vacation home. A fraudster creates a fake ID with your name on it and lists your house for sale with a real estate agent.
But wouldn't the agent check?
How? If all the communication is digital and the documents look perfect, and with AI, they will look perfect. The agent thinks they're dealing with the real owner. They sell the house, the money gets wired offshore, and the real owner only finds out when they come back for Christmas and find a new family living in their house.
Unbelievable. We've touched on rental scams already. That seems like the more high-volume, low-effort version.
Yes, real photos, fake landlord, 10 deposits collected, and poof, quick cash.
But the fourth one, conveyancing fraud, that one sounds the most sophisticated.
It's maybe the most devastating because your guard is totally down. It's what we call a man-in-the-middle attack. Hackers get into a lawyer's or an agent's email account. And at first, they do nothing. They just watch.
They're just reading everything.
They're reading, they're learning the tone of voice, the details of the deal. They wait for the closing date, the moment the money is about to be transferred. Then they send an email from the lawyer's actual account, or one that looks identical, saying, "Hi, our bank details have changed. Please wire the funds to this new account."
And because you're stressed and you trust your lawyer,
You send it, and it's gone. It's not a hack on the bank. It's a hack of the trust between a client and their lawyer.
the source makes a really key point about Jamaica specifically. You mentioned the diaspora. It says the very structure of the Jamaican market makes it uniquely vulnerable.
It does. It's an increasingly international market. You have so many Jamaicans living abroad, buying property back home. They have to transact remotely.
So the digital shortcut isn't a choice for them, it's the only option.
Exactly. And so for a fraudster, you don't need deep local knowledge. You just need to understand, as the article says, human behavior and digital shortcuts.
And this all brings us to the multiplier. Artificial intelligence. Dean Jones from Jamaica Homes has this quote. He says, "Fraudsters aren't inventing new crimes, they're upgrading old ones. AI has turned deception into a scalable business model."
Scalable is the key word. It used to take real skill to forge a document well. It took time. It wasn't scalable. Now AI lets criminals cast a much, much wider net.
The source even breaks down the toolkit. Voice cloning, for example. I've seen funny clips online, but is it really at a point where it could be used in a scam?
Oh, absolutely. It's not sci-fi anymore. With just a few seconds of audio from someone's Instagram or their voicemail, AI can replicate their voice almost perfectly. So imagine getting a call from your lawyer confirming those new bank details. It sounds just like him.
The cadence, the pauses, everything.
Everything. Our backup plan has always been, let me just call them to confirm. That backup is now compromised.
Wow. Then you have AI-generated documents and even deepfakes for video calls to create this layer of perceived authenticity.
You see them on a video call, your natural caution just drops. You think, I saw them with my own eyes. But you didn't, you saw pixels.
The article calls AI a mirror and a multiplier. I liked that framing.
It's an important point. AI itself is neutral. It just mirrors human intent. If you want to do good things like streamline property searches, it's an amazing tool. It multiplies good.
But if your intent is deception,
It multiplies your capacity to deceive on an industrial scale.
so if the tech is moving this fast, where is the government in all this? The article talks about a legislative lag.
And it's a massive problem. Laws are designed for a slower era. A law takes years to debate and pass. Cybercrime evolves every month. As Dean Jones says in the piece, cybercrime doesn't wait for policy cycles.
So by the time you outlaw one specific type of scam,
The criminals have already moved on to 3 new ones that the law doesn't cover.
The article frames this as an economic resilience issue for the Caribbean. It's bigger than just a few people losing their money.
Because property underpins the entire economy. It's tied to tourism, banking, foreign investment. Land disputes already strain the courts in Jamaica. Now, imagine adding a wave of digital fraud on top of that.
The whole system grinds to a halt.
And reputation travels fast. If the diaspora hears it's not safe to buy property back home, that investment tap gets turned off. Trust is the real currency, and if that erodes, it's a huge economic problem.
So the governance has to change. It's not just about bigger penalties.
Right. You need laws that can be updated quickly. You need to explicitly recognize things like synthetic media. And, most importantly, you need investigative capacity. You need digital police for digital crimes.
Okay, so we've laid out a pretty grim picture, but the article isn't called "The Future We Should Give Up On." What's the defense here? How do we fight back?
Well, the first part is technology fighting technology. Banks and registries are also using AI for anomaly detection, for biometric verification. The robots are on our side, too.
But that's just an arms race, isn't it? Their AI gets better, our AI gets better.
It is, which is why the article really emphasizes something else.
The human firewall.
The human firewall.
I love that term. But what does it actually mean in practice? Be careful is easy to say.
It means a real shift in mindset. For professionals, verification can't be informal anymore. If you get an email changing payment details, you don't reply. You pick up the phone and call a number you already have on file, not one from the email.
Such a simple step, but I bet most people don't do it.
They don't.
Yeah.
It feels awkward, like you're questioning them. We have to get over that.
And for just regular people buying or selling.
There's a golden rule in the source. Urgency is a red flag. Scammers need you to panic and act fast. So if someone is pushing you to do something right now, that's when you need to slow down and think.
It's that trade-off between convenience and security. The article basically says convenience without verification isn't neutral anymore. It's just risky.
Exactly. And Dean Jones gives this really sobering assessment. He says, we are at the early stage of a digital property fraud wave.
The early stage, so it's going to get worse.
It implies the volume is going to increase. He says the decisions we make now will determine if this stays manageable or if it becomes endemic.
Which brings us right back around to where we started, the choice.
It does. The window to act deliberately is still open, but as the article ends, the future isn't waiting to see if we're ready.
What really stuck with me is how this reframes what real estate even is. It's not just bricks and mortar. In a place like Jamaica, it's stability, it's legacy.
Belonging, as the article puts it.
Belonging. And protecting that isn't just about waiting for a new law. It's about all of us waking up to the fact that the rules of the game have changed.
We have to understand these incredible tools well enough to stop them from being used against us.
It's not about being scared of AI. It's about respecting what it can do for us and to us.
Absolutely.
So here's a thought to leave you with. We've talked about AI as a tool for deception. If it can already clone a voice and fake a document perfectly, how long until we can no longer fundamentally trust any digital communication for our most important transactions? And if we hit that point, do we have to go back to doing everything in person, on paper? Is that even possible anymore?
That's the question.
Yeah.
And we might have to answer it a lot sooner than we think.
Something to think about. That's it for this deep dive. Stay curious, stay vigilant, and maybe double check that email before you hit send. We'll see you next time.